the idea that the more vectors you have in your life, the more humanity you experience.
Absolutely. So, all these things that we talked about, Blaine, so far, I feel like this kind of ties into, the what is really needed in the world right now and what is going to be needed in the world right now, especially as AI becomes more prominent and promising, and is going to automate a lot of repeatable tasks moving forward, right? And so, can you summarize for us what you think are some skills? And I know we talked about most of them in so far, but what are skills that you think that are going to differentiate people in this AI world and in the ongoing world that we're going to have?
It's an important question, and it doesn't have a single answer because it's not a single job. I'm not going to say, well, you need to become an AI prompt coach or whatever, because that's not going to be a thing in 3 years anyway. Um, the skill that's going to be needed, though, is decision making. The one thing they are realizing over and over with AI, at least for the next foreseeable future, is that it doesn't really know when it got the decision wrong. I'm not even talking about hallucination. Let's pretend we
Yeah,
get hallucination, bottled up. AI is going to make wrong decisions just like our human CEOs do. And the best skill you can have is the ability to look at something and go, this is not going right. We need something different. So to be able to course correct, to be able to evaluate, um, there used to be an Amazon principle called be vocally self-critical. And the point behind that is to be able to look at where you're going and say, this is not where we should be going. And then to stand up, to have the backbone to go in a meeting and say, yeah, I know this is where our AI overlords are saying, we should go. I know this is the code they want us to write, but here's the problem. Here's the vulnerability. Here's what they haven't thought of. And to make that additional pivot. So as you prepare yourself, as you're new in your career, think about those times you made a decision between equally good choices or equally bad choices. Where it was a lose-lose situation. What did you do? Because those are things an AI is not going to be able to algorithm their way out of, because at some point it's not the data, it's a value decision. And
absolutely.
you being able to illustrate the way you use values to make choices is what's going to keep you separated not only from the AI but from everyone else.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, also because if you want to make decisions and sound decisions, you also have to be emotionally aware, emotionally connected with yourself. Because,
Yep.
I've noticed that every time I stop my practice of meditating or whatever it is I do to connect to myself, I become a really confused soul. Um, I'm unable to think critically. I'm unable to be secure as a person, and then that enters into bad decision making, right? And all those things. And so I think it again comes back to the human element, which we've been talking about so far, which is finding yourself constantly and then channeling that to make different kinds of decisions, both personal life as well as business. Do you agree with that?
I love that. Couldn't say it better myself.
Okay, I'm glad. So, one more very burning question I have for you, Blaine, which is around, how after the pandemic, things changed, remote work became the norm and all that, right? And I've been, ever since I started this podcast and just a little bit before that, I've been actively trying to mentor early career individuals who are still in their undergrad or masters or just joined the workforce, right? And you won't believe most. like 80% of the times that I'm on a call in a meeting invite with the person, where they're the ones who actually have the question, where they're the ones setting up this meeting, where they need help from me for something, my video is on,
Hmm.
and I'm, showing active conversation or active body language like eye contact and shoulders and hands and movements and all these things. And then the other person is not on camera.
Camera off. Yeah.
Yep. This is something even before the pandemic, when I was working from home, I would always, even if I was like not my best looking self, like not the Instagram version of Priyanka, I would still get on camera, even if my hair is oily or what. Okay, you know what? Fine, I admit it. Sometimes my hair was like not so great, but I would still get on camera because I would always be like, okay, I'd rather, like for me, it was being on camera first and then looking good was secondary. Now there's two elements to this. One is just the generalized, not the generalized, but the general concept of how do you make yourself impactful or visible in a remote setting. And then two is this gender component that I am going to bring into this, which is women always think that they need to be like really well put, like the if they don't look like a model, or their hair done and their face completely makeup and all that, then they shouldn't turn on their camera. So go. You know what
Okay.
to say.
Um, Again, a lot of things to unpack there. Uh, Let me start with some caveats. There are different rules when I am talking to a customer versus an internal meeting or a school meeting or something like that. And there are always exceptions for extenuating
Of
circumstances.
course.
If there's an emergency and you're on your phone in a car driving to the vet because Bender's throwing up in the car, you know what? I'm okay with you being off camera there. Thanks for dialing into the meeting. You probably need to rethink if you're even in the meeting in the first place. But
Oh
you know,
yeah.
so with
We
that
have
off
it.
the
Yeah.
table, simply because I'm eating ramen and it's lunchtime, if it's a team meeting, the team knows we eat lunch. Who booked this meeting during lunchtime? Guess what? I'm eating my ramen in front of everyone because, yum, it's ramen. So that's what we're going to do. And if you have a problem, go get your own ramen. I know you've got some out in the kitchen. Go get your own. You know, don't don't let those little weirdnesses happen. One of the last teams I worked for in speaker programs, I was the only dude on the team. Um,
Ooh,
it was
unique.
nice at
Yeah.
Amazon. I was the only guy. It was great. Um, but that meant that we actually had a comfort level that we had people literally rolling out of the shower, turning on the camera real fast to have a meeting. That no makeup. I mean, clothes, yes, but not going outside clothes. And what you realize is, as a team, I am more interested in you than how's your rouge today? Is your eyeliner on point? If it's in front of a customer,
Yeah.
okay, please don't roll up in a bathrobe and curlers. But for an internal meeting, give me your ideas, talk to me. This tells me you trust me as a person, which actually means I'm going to be more free flowing with my ideas. We don't require a perfectly built up distance between us. I'm going to show up with sawdust in my hair if I haven't had a chance to shower, if I was just grinding wood out in the garage, last couple minutes. All of
Yeah.
that being said, why does the camera matter? And it matters for two reasons. And the first one you already touched on, and that is there is that emotional connection. When I see a human as opposed to just hearing the human, I am able to connect with them in more senses. It's why we love in-person meetings, because seeing someone as a three-dimensional human is more real to our little amygdala than over a two-dimensional screen. But that's still better than just hearing their words like some voice of a God from the heavens talking to us and not seeing any person behind it. So that emotional connection is important. But that's not the one I want to tap into as a speaker. It's the how we decode language. It is not just the audio clip that we need for language. It's the facial expression. It's the lips. There are people who are hard of hearing who can understand everything you're saying if they can just see your face move, because this communicates so much more than just the audio. So even though none of you, I suspect most of you on this call have not been trained in lip reading, some of you might, in which case, congratulations. I wish I had your skill. But for the rest of us, we still do it subconsciously. So if you are talking and your camera is not on, the person who is trying to understand you cannot understand you as well as if your camera was on. And then you have to ask yourself, if I don't care if they understand me so much, why isn't this just an email? Why am
Yeah,
I on the call in the first place? If I
absolutely.
want if I want to be understood, you turn the camera on. You know, this is why when I tell people how to improve their video call situation, the first thing I'm going to say is improve your camera. Don't
Yeah.
use the little teeny tiny lens on your laptop. Get a little tiny Logitech. Upgrade from that as you go. Right now, I actually use a DSLR camera, Sony,
Oh,
that I've got hardwired into my machine because it produces a really great picture so that you can hear me better. Then you can upgrade the microphone. Then you can upgrade the lights and all these pieces as we go. But it's the lens that allows me to hear you the best.
absolutely. And I've noticed this with people who are leaders. They will typically have their video on because and their body language will be very like, oh, Priyanka, so tell me what's going on, very, sort of inviting, and I think those things are huge sort of game changer in how you perceive someone, right? Because
Yeah.
when your video is not on, I'm like, let's say you tell me something and my video is not on, but I'm smiling, but you can't see me smile. So now you might be thinking, oh, like, oh, what is Priyanka thinking about what I said or what I
Yeah.
just said, right? You
Is my story making her happy? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or is she judging me, for what I just said? And so you can come up with all these different things, and that actually creates a very fundamentally disconnected relationship to begin with. And we think these things don't actually matter or they're not real, but they're very, very real. In fact, you know I would try to have my camera, and I was like swinging the pendulum on the other extreme to say, oh, even if I look really ugly, I still do, is because I want to highlight the extent of how much women go to the other extreme end, where they're like, oh, if I do not look this, I'm not even going to be in the middle. And so I want to encourage everyone to like be okay with the little bit of how you flaws in terms of how you look, and try to prioritize as much as possible. And to your point, Blaine, when I actually can't get on video, like if I'm in a car driving, or yeah, or I'm feeling sick, right? One thing I do is I actually call that out saying, hey, actually I really want to get on video, but I'm feeling sick today. And that actually creates trust, because now you're actually telling the person that you're very aware of this concept of video, and the fact that you want to get yourself on and you're not shy. You want to put yourself out there, but you're just not because you're sick. And then that's great,
And
right?
you've been on video before, and you will be on video again.
Yes.
If it's your first time meeting someone, I would even say if you can at all muscle through it, if it's the first time. See, I've talked to Priyanka enough. I could have a phone conversation with her and I know her smile. I can hear the smile over the phone. It's much better on camera, but because we've had the in person. If it's your first time meeting someone, it, I know you don't feel good. I know you're feeling queasy. Turn the camera on anyway, if at all possible.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail, because if it's your first time, yeah, like what I do, like if I'm busy, then I don't even have it. Like I'd rather not have the call that day.
Reschedule it.
And right,
Reschedule it.
yeah, yeah, because first impressions, matter in this world we're living in. People increasingly don't have time to know you, and so when that you get that one chance to know someone, or for someone to know you, then you're like, no, I want to like be this person. And as you said, right, now we don't have to be on video every time, because I can also like assume your expressions, because I've seen you, I've interacted with you before. So that's very, very different, because the bond is already created, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is great. And I think I wanted people to hear from someone other than me that getting on video is really important. So guys, please get on video.
Critical. Critical.
Critical, especially in your
And
early
don't worry
career.
about your background. It is okay to have a whimsical background as long as it's not in motion.
Yeah.
If you've got things that are moving around, that'll distract people. Then I will accept the blur. But other than that, don't even put the blur on. That's actually more distracting than, a fencing jacket and whatever else is here. Leave
Oh
it.
my God, Blaine. Wow. This is like, oh my God, this is such an interesting point, because, you know, um, like we have even to join this podcast, right, episode, as we're recording this, the tool gave me suggestions of, oh, you can use this background, that background, and then I tried it, and then I was like, I want people to just see the raw, okay,
Yeah.
unpolished. This is me. There's a
It's
um,
authentic.
yes. See, there's a picture actually of.
I love that picture, by the way.
Thank you. You know what it symbolizes? So it's. Go ahead. I'll let
I,
you guess.
I can't see it clear enough to look at. I see the
Okay.
guy with the umbrella and the kid dancing in the rain.
Yes, yes, exactly. But you see the guy in the umbrella and what he's covering himself from, versus the kid who's decided to embrace.
I I love the emotion behind it. Yes,
So yeah, it's basically about the embracing life instead of hiding from it, because that's when you actually will find happiness. And this is actually representative of my family, because my whole family, when we went on a road trip once in India, it just started raining very heavily, and we were walking on the street. So everybody kind of like got into the nearby shelter or the sheds of the shops, and me and my mom were like, you know what? Let's just enjoy the rain. And then we were walking in the rain as it was raining, and we got completely drenched, Blaine.
love
And
it.
everyone were looking at us like, wait, what the hell? Like, why are they not in umbrellas? And my dad
Crazy
had,
people.
yeah.
Yeah,
And my dad had one umbrella. So eventually, he also got so excited that he closed his umbrella, and we all were walking voluntarily in the rain, even though we had an umbrella with us. So, and that is like a core memory, because like we have a picture and we keep thinking about, oh wow, that was that one time where we were so crazy, we voluntarily drenched ourselves completely.
that is
And
brilliant.
right, and the
Brilliant.
thing is we had no like plan for how what we would do to dry our clothes once we got into the car. Like we had no plan, right? And people would usually, what they would do is they start thinking about that before they do this drenching part. They'll be like, oh, but if I did this, then I wouldn't be able to do that, and my hair would get spoiled and all these things, right? And then they don't do the thing that gives you joy. And
I
so
love that story.
thank you, Blaine. Thank you. So that's why I put that in. And I have, as you can see, an empty corkboard, which was supposed to be my vision board for 2026. But, life, this is real life, guys. I don't have a vision board yet. I was supposed to have one. And so we're here to show you those raw moments, those human moments. And that's why I, even asked Blaine, like, hey, let's let's kind of have a very unfiltered conversation wherever it flows, however it flows, right? So, um, with that, Blaine, I do have some questions I wanted to ask you in the form of what we call as a rapid fire round.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So, are you ready for it?
I don't think I am, but let's try it.
Okay. So, Give me 1 second. All
And
right.
to be clear to the audience, I have no idea what question she's about to ask. None of this has been prepared. So
Oh
we're
yeah.
kind of blind.
Oh yeah. He didn't even know that there was going to be a rapid fire round
Okay.
because it's the psychological element of if you know it, then you're going to like try to be a little bit prepared, and we want the rawness, whatever comes out, and then we're going to go with that. So, putting you on the spot, Blaine, we'll start with success or peace.
Success or peace? I would have answered this differently 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I would have absolutely said peace is overrated. Let's be successful. I am at a stage in my life where I will absolutely choose the peace of a front porch over success any day.
I'm there already, so yeah, peace, yeah, peace all the way. Confidence or competence?
Confidence or competence?
You have to be fast.
I'm a believer in the confidence side.
Okay.
I think competence can be achieved after the fact, but if you don't believe in yourself, you never get there.
Yep, I agree with that. Okay, curiosity or intelligence?
Curiosity, 100%. Your
Hmm,
ability to ask why is more important than knowing how.
absolutely. What about talent or discipline?
This one's a little more difficult. I think talent by itself doesn't get you beyond the entry level. I think it is discipline that really drives the real game changers of the world.
Absolutely. Okay, money or freedom?
Oh, freedom. I started as a high school teacher. Money to me is not a driver.
Right. Okay, AI or humanity?
Error or humanity?
AI or
AI
humanity?
or humanity? AI can go bang rocks. I'm team humanity 100%.
I knew it. Okay, logic or intuition?
Logic or intuition? I'm a believer in intuition. I'm a believer in making jumps that are not logical.
Okay, books or experience?
I've changed. I'm more an experience now. I used to be a book person. I'm like, go out there, get the life experience, go dance in the rain. It's important.
Speed or depth?
Say again?
Speed or depth?
Speed or depth? I think depth ultimately becomes the more important area. Speed is critical, but I got to say, being able to dive all the way to the bottom of what you want, I think ends up paying off more.
Makes sense. Okay, being right or being kind?
I think being kind wins the day ultimately more often than anything else.
Leadership or influence?
I love the idea of influencing from the sidelines. I think that's where the real power is. It's not the person in the front desk. It's the people behind him that are the ones that are really the strength.
So you'd say leadership or influence?
The influence. Yeah.
Okay, consistency or creativity?
I like creativity. I think consistency is overrated. I
Mm,
think you need to be able to be consistent if you need to, but I would much rather see something different the next time you do it.
interesting. Okay, comfort or growth?
Again, I've changed. I used to all be about growth. Now I'm absolutely about the comfortable chair. I like comfort.
Okay, freedom or stability?
Freedom or stability? I'm still on the freedom side. I think, that idea of absolute predictability is still not worth it.
Interesting. That is interesting. Yeah. Okay, optimism or realism?
I think they can be the same thing. Um, but I'm going to say realism simply because I don't like you telling yourself lies, but I think you can always make realism be something that says there's a positive way of being real with what you've got.
Okay, so positive realism basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Combination of the two almost, right? Yeah. Okay, last question. Purpose or happiness?
That's straight out of Avenue Q. Um, I'm a believer that happiness ultimately is there. I think people spend too much mental effort trying to find a purpose in life. I think the purpose is to enjoy the moment. I think that's why we're here.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you one sentence questions so you can answer it in a sentence. If everyone could learn one skill tomorrow, what would that be?
The ability to think about what the other person in the room needs And you
Very,
can take that 100 different ways.
I know what you mean. Okay, you have to complete this sentence. I've changed my mind about dash.
I've changed my mind about sushi. I love sushi now. You couldn't pay me money, even as a 30-year-old, to put raw fish in my mouth. It is the tastiest thing on this planet.
I love it, and I love sushi. So yeah.
It's great. And my partner cannot get her to eat it. I
Oh,
understand it. Uh, None of my family, extended family, enjoy it. I love it. So if you're ever in
interesting.
the area and you want a sushi buddy, give me a call. We're doing sushi.
We're doing this next. We're doing this next. Yeah. We're gonna have a podcast episode over sushi.
Uh, yes, yes, we are.
Okay. The biggest lie we have normalized is dash.
The biggest lie that I have normalized,
We have normalized as a
or that we
society.
collectively have normalized, that maturity has value intrinsically. I think there is value in a maturity, but it is not automatic. And I think as a society, especially, we tend to revere that which has been there for 25 years. And I don't think that's right. And coming as someone who's been in the industry for 25 years, I know I'm speaking against myself, and I think I'm on solid ground in that case.
What should people stop optimizing?
People should stop optimizing their monthly paycheck. I think once you have your needs met, and let's again take that off the plate, you absolutely have to hit your survival. And my heart breaks for everyone who is still struggling on that area. But once you are past that checkpoint, I think a lot of people are chasing bigger and bigger paydays instead of finding the thing that they enjoy. And maybe they don't work 18 hours a day. Maybe you put in a normal 40 to 50-hour week and you get to play with your cat more. And I think ultimately that's what we're going to remember. I'm looking back. I wish I had more days with my cat than I did banging code.
Okay, what's becoming more valuable every year?
What's becoming more valuable every year is discovering what separates human from automatons. And even in industries that could be automated, I'm going to look at baristas in coffee shops. Um, we had automatic coffee machines in the 70s. You go to any hospital, you could put a quarter in a machine and it would spit you out a hot cup of brown sauce and call it coffee. And people hated it. They would much rather today pay $4 to go to Starbucks and get what's essentially the same bean juice. But the difference is Starbucks understands, most of them do, the human side of it. They know that getting a coffee is not just about the drink, it's about that third space, it's about that extra element. And I think being able to understand where that humanity is what's going to allow us as a species to be better.
And you think that's becoming more valuable, the human, discovering the human element of it all.
Discovering the human behind all of our actions.
And so, what's becoming completely irrelevant?
Repeated motion. If you're in the assembly industry, if you're putting roofs up, these are all things we can program a robot to do. Uber Eats delivery people, you're going to be replaced. I've already seen the robots in action. They work. If it doesn't take decisions, it's going to become irrelevant. That's that's the sad reality of where we are. Whether that's right or not, I'm willing to share a coffee with anyone and have that conversation. But that is what is.
Yeah, and I would encourage everyone to, separate the right and wrong conversation from reality and kind of also being in that world, right? Because,
Yeah.
like, yeah, we can all debate about, what is right and what's not, and oh, this is not fair, but you also have to make your ends meet and do what you need to do in this moment, right? So yeah, that's a great point. Okay, one idea that deserves to die.
One idea that deserves to die is crypto.
Oh, why?
I understand the philosophy behind crypto. I have had absolute true believers give me the spiel of the idea of what is currency anyway? What's the backing? Why can't I declare this little bit on a computer? And all crypto is, it's a secure bit as opposed to your bank account, which they say is not secure. But what that ignores is the idea of what currency actually represents from a sociological perspective. It is short sighted, it is error prone, and it is, in fact, why so many people, some people are making a fortune, but they're doing it on the backs of other people that don't know what they're doing, and the rug gets pulled out of all of them eventually.
Hmm.
Um, Currency markets shouldn't really be a thing anyway. I think if we had a better society, honestly, there would be a global currency. I don't care what it is. Make it the euro, make it the yen, but everyone pays 1 yen for one bag of flour. And it doesn't matter where I am. And so we end up having uniformity. I hate that as someone who travels from the US, I can take a US dollar, and whether I'm in Colombia or I'm in Mumbai or I'm in Tokyo, that dollar does or does not buy me the same amount of dinner. That shouldn't be the case. And crypto just makes that all the worse.
Mm, I see. Okay, fair.
All right. Long diatribe, not necessary, but that's my thing.
Okay, last question. One idea worth fighting for.
More forest lands. I literally live in US East One in Northern Virginia. I moved this area over 12 years ago, and there were a lot of data centers here when I did move into this area, but there was a lot of forest land, and it's gone. And we have deer and foxes that go through my backyard, and they're getting scrawnier and less healthy every year. And the birds are not as healthy. And I've been able to track the downgrade of wildlife in just the short time that I've been living here. And I think there's going to be a reckoning that humanity is going to have to suffer with. It's not just the moral suffering, which, again, let's take right and wrong out of it. There's going to be a biological suffering that is going to happen because we have not been proper stewards of the planet.
Absolutely. In fact, just yesterday we had four large Ontario wildfires, and there was like ash falling
Oh,
from
the pictures are
window.
horrific. I've
Oh,
seen
did
it.
you see them?
I saw the pictures. Oh my goodness. Y'all are on
Yeah,
fire.
totally. And like literally outside, it looked like doomsday, like completely golden, dull golden brown
Yeah.
skies, and like the car, the front of the car had like the powder, ash powder on it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was crazy. And imagine the number of animals that might have perished in the fires, and it's just a really, really sad reality. And I actually feel really bad for animals because, we also share the planet with them.
Yeah.
And look at what we're doing to them, right? Taking their homes, um, and then also calling them a bother when they come encroach into our territories eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so if there is one thing I would say is we absolutely need to stop the deforestation of wherever you are. I don't care which country, I don't care which land, the Northeast Brazil, Southeast Argentina. We have to protect what we've got.
Absolutely. So with that, thank you for the answering the rapid fire questions so well, even though you were not prepared for it, and you literally had no idea that there was even a rapid fire round as part of
No,
this
you're
segment.
totally catching me by surprise here.
So, but you did great. You sounded like someone who knew what they were talking. And this is the practice that we were referring to, right? Which is years and years of practice that
That's it.
that
That's it. My
kept you
partner is
authentic.
tired of hearing me talk. I do it way too much.
So with that, Blaine, before I let you go, I'm just going to take a little bit more of your time and ask you two very important questions that I think are important. One is, I'll start with the first question, which is in service of all women, because I'm a woman and I feel it a personal responsibility to speak up and advocate for women challenges we face in corporate and just generally globally, right? And so, I'm Indian. I, reside in Canada, but my mind still goes back to the challenges that Indian women face, and everything from patriarchy in the households to patriarchy in the workplaces, so on and so forth, oppression, all kinds of oppression that you can imagine.
Yeah.
In North America, it is definitely a lot better. There's a lot more respect for women. There's a fair amounts of equality for women and things like that. But I think that this gender conversation and women empowerment conversation needs to keep going in order for there to be global equality and even equality in North America and in our minds, because I was raised in a very confident household. My parents always told me that go conquer the world, do whatever it is you want, and don't let you being whatever you are limit you, right? But still, because of the generational, our DNA carries memory, right? And this is generationally ingrained and programmed into me as well, even though my upbringing was great. And so I think even though we might all appear as a society as though women are respected, equal, all those things, women still are subconsciously running through the programming that was created generations back, right? Is there, and I think it's so healing when women hear from men about what women should feel and what they should do, because it feels like, because we want allies, and we can't just live in a world where we're just supporting each other. We also need men to support us. And so what is your general take on women empowerment in corporate, in your personal life, or just in life in general, and what message do you want to give to all women out there?
I mean, the biggest message that I want to share as a man is that my workplace is better when there are more women in it. I have just honestly struggled at times when I've been in departments that have not had women in it. I talked about the one where I was the only guy. That was great. Loved it. I've also been one where there are no women at all. Um, and the patriarchy is a very real concept, even if guys won't put the name to it. Um, we all of us, like to be around people that look like us, which means if you get a bunch of guys in charge, they will continue to add more guys to the mix unless they consciously take the time to balance the equation, to look for underrepresented, both in gender and in race and in culture and all the different ways that we want the representation. It's smart business to have better representation. Otherwise, your own products become monochromatic. Um, but as a man, it's that monochromatic world that I think just sucks all the fun out of things. And so as I work with women in the workplace, I want them to be proud of where they are and who they came from and their struggles. And I want them to tell me their stories. I'm not saying I am one of the girls, but I love being invited out to mahjong. You know, I enjoy being part of what you enjoy. And so taking the time to celebrate who you are, looking at candidates when they come in. And I would never say take an unqualified candidate. And I hate when people put it in terms of that. But the truth is, as you said, many candidates could do the job right. It's which one do you want? And what I want is a world that is better balanced. I don't want to have an underrepresented category because I want everyone to be equal at the table. But to do that, at some point, you do have to say, there's not enough Japanese here at the company. There's not enough Mexicans at this company. There's not enough women at this company. And because of that, we are becoming monochromatic. And so, absolutely, I'm someone who advocates for that because I enjoy it and because it's the right business.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those kind words. And I hope all the women listening are feeling a little bit healed from hearing these words of acceptance. I think because women, we crave to feel accepted. Even though, yes, theoretically, we should all be accepted, feel accepted, all those things. But there's a whole other sense of feeling that happens when someone else tells us that, hey, I want you to know that you are accepted,
I
right?
want you on my team. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's my manager, my last manager, he had recognized that in during our team meetings, there were only conversations of like soccer or, some sport, and he realized that I was not into sports. And so, eventually he was like, "Hey, you know what? Let's change the topic and let's talk about hey Priyanka, what movie did you watch?" And I was like, do you really want to know? And I'm like, yeah, I was watching Gossip Girl the other day.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, that's just what I love. And then he was like, yeah, that's great. Like, okay, yeah, share. What did you like about it? So he tried to like actively create a atmosphere where even though I
Good.
was the only girl or women on the team, that I also felt included. And the fact, because sometimes women, what we do is, and I've had these kind of conversations only with other women where they have told me that, oh, in my team meetings, I just kind of like just don't talk much because, or I don't feel comfortable saying that, oh, what did you do on the weekend? Oh, I went to a manicure. I don't want to do a manicure because no man is saying I want to do a manicure. So you just lie and say, oh yeah, just running some errands. You don't get too specific about
Yeah.
that, right? And then I was like, why? They're like, oh, because who's gonna want to hear that, right? So
And,
that's,
and,
but
and what I'm
yeah.
saying is I at least I want to hear it. I want to hear which color you chose. I want to hear the name of the color you chose. Because trust me, some of those nail polishes, I couldn't come up with the creativity of some of those names. I want to hear it.
Absolutely. So thank you for your words. And just to close this off, what is your final piece or words of advice you want to give to someone who is in their 20s watching this right now?
The final words are embrace what makes you you. Celebrate yourself. There is joy in our entire body electric, and find what separates you from everyone as much as what connects you to everyone. I think that's really what matters.
I couldn't have said it better. Yeah. Thank you so much, Blaine. You were amazing. I think, we had planned for like like a sort of relatively shorter timeline, but I guess our conversations, they can never be interrupted. They just go on for hours and
They,
hours, right?
they
So I'm
just, they
not
just do. It's
surprised.
great. Yeah.
And that's a great sign of a good, comfortable friendship, right? Where the hours just pass by and you're like, wow, it's been so many hours. So thank you for being a wonderful friend. And I want to be very specific actually, and I want to do this live on our podcast, which is making you feel valued. And we're going to do that to each other. Don't worry, I'll give you the chance to. But I personally talk a lot about the power of making other people feel valued, and in return you also derive meaning and happiness from that. And so um, I just want to tell you, Blaine, I'll go first. I want to tell you that you've really, I mean, we have not talked throughout the entire 9 years that we've known each other, but we have talked in like different segments, right, of phases of life. But every time I remember you, because it's the memory of someone, right? Every time I remember you, I think of someone who is warm, comfortable to talk to, non-judgmental, and someone who's just going to make my day. Like I know that before I even call you that you're going to make my day, right? No pressure on you, you just being yourself is going to make my day, right? And I think that is not an accident. I think that comes from a lot of intention, a lot of self-introspection, a lot of hard hard introspection, right? That you might have gone through in your life to come to this point where you make someone feel this way. And I think this is the exact kind of connection and the kind of people that the world craves to have, where you can just be your best self without being judged. So thank you for giving me that comfortable space, even back when I was 25, all the way to now in on this podcast. And also thank you for your time on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I know you had a lot of other things. You could have been doing so many other things, but you chose to be here with me and for us to share your knowledge and your wisdom. So thank you for that as well. I don't take these things lightly, so I'm very grateful for you being here, Blaine.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
So is there anything you want to share before we conclude?
I mean, the biggest thing is I'm just really grateful that you invited me here. As you mentioned, we've had some amazing interactions over the last 9 years. It's been one of the bright points of my life being able to count you as a friend. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those words, and thank you for being here. Hopefully, we will see you again on the podcast on this next time with sushi live in person. So
Yes.
looking forward to that. But meanwhile, everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you soon.
Take
Bye.
care.